Right, good afternoon. So we're down to our last topic, market structure. Okay. So now we'll talk about the characteristics of a market. So and what are the different types of market as well. Okay. All right. So now let's discuss market structure. So market, what is a market? First, so market, as we have defined the last time, market refers to anything or anywhere where buying and selling exist. Okay? So as long as may buyer there at may seller, we would consider that as a market. Right? So usually people would relate market to geographic, gusto ba sa lugar. Just like managay ginambal na KTC, Tagisano, okay? Why? It's because it's easier to presume that market is a place. Right? But looking market as a form of place or geographically is just one of the way to look at it. Okay, we can look at market in different aspects. Right. So now, let's discuss one way to look at it. Is look at it as its characteristics, ang iya mga traits, kumbaga. And that would make up of market structure. Market structure are defined as the individual characteristics of each particular industry in the economy. They also show the organization and composition of firms to the market. All right. So what are those characteristics that make up or separates one market to another? Okay. So we have 7 characteristics. Alright? So, the first is number of firms in the industry. Gaano karami ang mga businesses in that industry or in that market. Nature of the product produced. Degree of power each firm has. Degree to which the firm can influence the price. Non-price competition or advertisement. Okay? So, advertisement is also a competition. Profit level. Gaano kataas yung pwede mong maipatong. Okay? That is a characteristic of a market, and extent of barrier to entry or exit. Okay. Gaano kadali pumasok or lumabas sa industry na yan. Okay. So these 7 characteristics or traits are what make up or separate one market to another. Alright? So in economy, we can have different types of markets depending on the industry. Ano ba sila yun? Ibig sabihin, kung ining ang industry, stiff ang competition, it doesn't mean na stiff ang competition ng bilog na lugar na. Like for example, in Rojas City, right? Rojas City. So not because matindi ang competition ng food industry sa Rojas, then it means nga sa other industry man na nasa Rojas would be stiff man or matindi man ang competition. Like for example, kunwari matindi ang competition sa food industry, pero ang sa service niya, base matawhay. Alright? Because the competition or the market in one industry can be different to other industries in one economy. Okay? So possible na lang lines lang. Okay? So now, let's look at the level of the competition in a market structure. Ibig sabihin, gaano ka stiff or gaano katindi ang competition based on the market structure. Alright? So what are those market structure at the first place? So we have 4 market structures. We have perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. Okay? So there are 2 ways for you to look at them. So you can look at them more or in terms of level of competition and level of concentration. So once we say competition, it refers to gaano karami or gaano katindi yung kompetensya ng ng mga businesses in that market. Okay? Pag sinabi mo namang concentration, it refers to gaano ka tindi yung or gaano kalat yung consumer. Are they in one market lang? Alright? Or I mean, are they in one seller or supplier business? Or lakta ang buyer? Alright? Tanan nga seller may ara buyer. They have equal share of consumer. That's what concentration is. Okay? So let's look at level of competition in terms of market structure. So pag if you start with more competition, okay? So pagdating mo sa sa perfect competition rather, sa perfect competition, matindi ang competition. Nakabutang dila, more ang competition. Matindi ang ila inawayay kumbaga ng each businesses just to have a market or just to have consumers, to have buyers. Okay? As you move along from perfect competition na grabe gid, ang next na matindi, intense gyapon but not as intense as perfect competition would be monopolistic competition. After monopolistic, you have your oligopoly, and then lastly, you have your monopoly. Okay? So ang pinaka-less sa market structure in terms of market structure or in terms of competition would be monopoly. And later, we'll discuss why. Alright? In terms of concentration naman, gaano kakalat yung consumers, alright? Are they being one-handed by one consumer, one seller, or lakta ang consumer? Opposite naman siya. Sa perfect competition, lakta. Alright? Ang consumer. Ibig sabihin, ang mga sellers, they have like number, acceptable number of consumers. Daw, kumbaga, tanan nga consumer, if we have, let's say, if we have 10 consumers, tanan nga 10, right, or majority of those 10 have decent number of consumers. Base, tig to 2 sila, kumbaga, or tig to 3, right? Kalat ang consumer for each seller. Then, next dira would be monopolistic. So, kalat man, but not as spread as perfect competition. Next would be oligopoly. So, medyo hindi na siya kalat. So, each seller would have a majority number of consumers. Kumbaga, mas damo ang consumers sang isa ka business compared to others. And the most concentrated, ibig sabihin, ang majority, most, if not all consumers are just in one seller. So, monopoly. Most concentrated. But in terms of competition, least ang monopoly. So, opposite. More competition ang perfect, least ang competition. In terms of concentration, less ang perfect, more ang monopoly. So, okay? Now, let's talk about perfect competition. Let's define perfect competition using the 7 characteristics. All right? So, perfect competition, in terms of number of firms in the industry, it has multiple sellers or players. Okay? Players in the competition. So, single seller's decision has no impact on the market price. So, muna gani, since damo ang seller, so ang decision ni single seller ng isa lang ka seller na magpataas would most likely not have an impact sa business. Alright? Or sa industry itself. Kung magpanubo siya, most probably, since damo ang seller, basta magpanubo man ang iban. But then, grabe ang akig sa iya sang iban nga sellers. Why? It's because ginpanubo niya, ginpababa niya ang profit margin or ang tubo sang tanan because everybody would follow. Alright? Most likely, that would be the action of the sellers under perfect competition. Okay? In terms of nature of the product produced, the products under perfect competition are usually identical or homogeneous. What does it mean? Ibig sabihin, pareho, di ba damo sellers? Even though damo sellers, pare-pareho malang ang ila na baligya. Alright? Let's have an example. Try to imagine sa mga fruit stand. Okay? So, damo fruit stand, pero ano na baligya nila? They sell, let's say, apple, mango, and grape. So, yung apple, mango, and grape ng isa ka seller, that would be the same. That would be the same apple, mango, and grape dito sa isa. And that would be the same apple, mango, and grape dito naman sa ikatlo na seller. So, the items are the same. Alright? They're not different from one another. And if that's the case, that's the reason why kalat ang consumer. Why? It's because first of all, damo gani ang seller. At the same time, there is no need to be loyal to one seller. Why? It's because the same product that I am getting from one seller would be the same product that I can get from the other. So I don't need to be loyal to one because ang gina-offer niya, ma-offer man sang iban. So pwede dito ko na lang baklon man sa iban. Alright? So when it comes to perfect competition, it would be the same. Okay? The same ang ila product, homogeneous. Okay? Degree of power each firm has. So each producer or businesses have a very small proportion of the total industry output. So since damo gani ang seller, so ang iya influence sa industry is manubo lang. Manubo lang ang influence ni business sa industry. Degree to which the firm can influence price. Firms in this type of market structure have no influence to pricing. They are actually considered as price takers. Ibig sabihin, gabaton lang sila sa kung ano ang price based on the demand. Because they do not have control over the price they charge for their product, either on the demand or on the supply. Right? So, again, it's because sa sobra kadamo sang sellers at the same time pare-parehas ang item. So, they don't really have influence as a businessman over the price. The price are being influenced by either their supplier, ang supplier yatang prutas, for example, or ang willingness of the consumers to buy the product. Them as a seller, they don't really have a say to influence the price. Okay. Fifth, non-competition or advertisement. So there is no need for an advertisement because everyone knows this product. For the product, there is no need. But for the business itself, there is a high need to advertise the product. The business. Why? It's because there is no competitive edge when it comes to product. All right. But the business, it need to have it needs to have competitive edge against one another. Naman, kay pare-parehas na nga dan kamo product pero damo kamo businesses. So as a business itself, you need to advertise your business itself, not the product but the business itself. Okay? So in terms of product, there is no need to advertise the product, but the business itself, you need to advertise your business. Okay? Give me one moment. Alright? Nakita. Profit level. Now, in terms of profit levels, profit on firms under perfect competition is very small as they just allow the market to dictate their price.
Ano lang muna, so i-check lang muna yung speech. Pinakahilit naman.
Okay? So, as we have discussed earlier, sellers under perfect competition are price takers. Ibig sabihin kung ano yung ginhambal nga presyo or ano yung presyo based on the supply, alright, or based on the demand, hanggang dun lang sila. Hindi sila makakapataas. Why? It's because magpataas ang mga business, other businesses are options for them, are substitute for them. So, kung magpataas sila yate, ang buyers mo yan, makadto sa ibang na seller. So, if that's the case, ikaw, malugi ka. Diba? Kaya wala may kabakansi mo. Okay. Number 7, extent of barriers to entry or exit. There is an easy entry and exit from the industry. This means that it is easy to be in the business and also to leave business. There are many people engaged in the right? So malupos lang siya makasulod, okay? Malupos lang mag-start ng amo nga business. At the same time, malupos lang man makagwa. Naman, kay damo gani ang sellers. Sumutringon, damo man ang mga nagkakaperde. Alright? Usually, industries that have perfect competition are in agricultural industry. Yung mga nagabaligya ng kamatis, for example. Kung ang kamatis ng stall 1, parehas mo lang sa kamatis ng stall 2. Parehas mo lang sa stall 3. Kung ang balon nyo na may bulok na sa stall 1, ay pagbanta mo sa stall 3, wala bulok. Malamang sa malamang may bulok din dyan. Kung hindi bulok, base lapit na mabulok. So it would still be the same compared to the stall 1. Right? So, and as you can see, diba, wala man mga commercial na tomato na product with naman. It's because the products are the same. Right? So mostly agricultural businesses um, are example of perfect competition. So in competition, perfection does exist actually, but not in a good way. Actually, it is in a good way in the eyes of consumers. It's because, syempre, di ba, as a consumer, wala yung fear mo bala, fear of missing out, na, ay, dapat mabalaan ko gid kung diin ako mabakal gid ng nami kay base ang mabaklan ko, ano, mandaraya bala. Base dito ko sa store na nagbakal nga mahal ang iya baligya, or base dito ko nagbakal sa store na kalain iya product. So there is no fear of that sa under perfect competition. Why? Because any store offer the same type of product. Usually, they also offer the same type of price. If you've noticed, ganito bala sa mga fruit stand, most likely, ang price nila pare-parehas lang. Diba? Nga man, it's because of the perfect competition. So, ano ang presyo ng isa, pantayan mo lang para para katuan ka man sang tao. Okay? Alright. Now let's go to monopolistic competition. Okay. So please take note, this is not the same with the monopoly. Okay. This is monopolistic competition. Alright. Now, in terms of number of firms in the industry, there are many numbers of sellers. So just like perfect competition, damo man ang sellers. Right? Usually this is because the nature of the product is needed or a necessity by the people. Okay. In terms of nature of the product produced, products are usually different or heterogeneous. Okay, so please take note of this because this is one of the major difference of monopolistic compared to perfect competition. The nature of the product produced are different or heterogeneous. Okay, ano ba sila yun? Take for example, industry of shampoo. Okay, Alright? Ang shampoo, um, lain-lain. Damo seller, so you have Sunsilk, you have Clear, you have Head and Shoulders, alright? You have Pantene, you have Guard. So you have many sellers. But it's also a necessity, di ba? Shampoo, it's for hygiene. But the shampoo, you can just say it's shampoo, but they are actually different shampoos. We have aloe vera na shampoo. We have mint na shampoo. We have um, a combination ng shampoo. We also have conditioner type of shampoo or conditioner, which is under the same industry man. Um, okay? O, may mga para sa keratin pa nga shampoo, mga olive oil na type of product. We have anti-dandruff. We have pang smooth. Alright? May halaman para pang fresh, para makamot ang buhok. May anti-freeze. So, there are a lot of varieties of shampoo. So, now, depending on your need, like for example, kunwari, nalalagas yung buhok. Alright? So, you need, do you need an anti-dandruff shampoo? No, you don't need an anti-dandruff shampoo. You need an anti-hair fall shampoo. Naman, it's because your need is para mag-strength mo buhok. Pero kung damo kaya balakuba, kung damo ka dandruff, then do you need an anti-hair fall or do you need an olive um, uh, shampoo? No, you need a anti-dandruff shampoo. So, they have heterogeneous or different types of dandruff, right? Now, number 3, degree of power each firm has. So each producer or businesses could have their large or small proportion depending on its impact on the market. So depending on the market, businesses could either have a large or a high influence in the market or a small um, impact on the market. Why? It's usually because, again, the number um, of sellers. So possible na base hindi gid siya ganun kakinahanglan and because damo ang sellers, damo option, then it may have a low or a small impact in the market. Pero kung kinahanglan gid siya, then it could have a large impact in the market. Okay? Depending on it since it is heterogeneous. Number 4, degree to which the firm can influence price, right? So firms may have some element of control over price because they can differentiate their product in some way from their price. All right. So again, so medyo separate na siya unlike sa perfect competition because this time it can have its own influence. All right. Medyo ma-influencehan niya na ang price. How paano? Let's presume shampoo yapon. Let's stick to the shampoo as an example. Assume tayo na summer. 'Di ba? Kunwari summer, mainit. So kapag mainit, pawis ng buhok, damo ang mga bata, let's say, damo lisa kag puto. Alright? So since damo sila light kag mga puto, then you need an anti-lice or ang shampoo na nagapamatay sang lisa kag puto. 'Di ba? So if that's the case, there will be a demand for it. 'Di ba? So ikaw, if seller ka sang amo sina klase nga shampoo, since ikaw lang yung gabaligya sa ina nga shampoo, ang iba niya puro anti-dandruff, anti-hair fall, ang iba mga pang anti-freeze, pang smooth na type of shampoo, pampaganda, pampadulas ng shampoo ng buhok, mga ganun ba. Then you're the only have you're the only product na may kakayahan magpatay sang kuto kabisa. Alright? So if that's the case, then you can put your product higher, ang price higher compared to those other type of shampoo. Pwede yan na ang imo shampoo nga kaya magpatay sang lisa kag kuto, mas mahal compared sa iba nga tipo sang shampoo. Why? It's because you have an edge, a differentiator compared to those other products. So if that's the case, it means that you, as a businessman, can have an influence, a somewhat influence over the price. All right, depending on your differentiator or competitive edge. In terms of non-price competition or advertisement, so spending on advertisements and other ways to make the brand popular are intense. So just like perfect competition, you need to also make sure that your brand or your business itself are well known. Okay. Um, so high man ang iya competition in terms of marketing or advertising. Now, in terms of profit level, so theoretically, the opportunities to earn and keep economic profit are few, but much higher compared to perfect competition. Right? So since damo gyapon ang ang seller, so presumably medyo gamay malang man gyapon ang pwede mo maipato na tubo sa ini nga klase nga competition. But at least it is higher compared to perfect competition. Alright? Extensive barriers to entry and exit. So there is an easy entry and exit from the industry. This means that it is easy to be in the business and also easy to leave because the raw materials for the product are accessible. So just like perfect competition, since damo gani ang ang businesses na under this type of competition, it's easy for you to be replaced. Lupos lang mag declare bankrupt or stop of operation because people would not feel so much of your absence as a business. All right. At the same time, it is also easy to be in the business. All right. Please take note. It's as easy to entry. Okay. It's a different story to say easy to be successful in the business. So not because nakasulod ka sa industry, ibig sabihin successful ka dira automatic. So we're just talking about how easy it is to start the business. Okay. Not really to be successful in the business. So as we have discussed earlier, products under monopolistic competition are usually necessity type of product. So since necessity type of product siya, gusto nun, kinahanglan siya, medyo taas ang demand niya. So if that's the case, of course, damo ang possible na mag-sell dira. In terms of requirements, usually malupot lang man ang requirement. Okay? Kinahanglan gamit. Right? Take for example, ang face shield or face mask back then during pandemic. Since kinahanglan siya, di ba? Supposedly dapat damo pa tani mga requirements ng mga FDA pa na certification para makabaligya ka sang face mask. But then since kinahanglan siya, necessity siya, so lupos lang magbaligya sang face mask. It became na lupos lang. But then sa to, makabakal ka lang yung face mask sa mga pharmacy or sa hospital. Okay? Now, oligopoly competition. So now this is a little bit, this is different compared to the first. Number of firms in the industry, kung kagina ang first to have many firms, now this time, oligopoly competition have fewer firms in the market. Gamay lang ang mga businesses na ara dira sa market. If there are some situations where damo man ang businesses pero gamay lang ang large businesses. So in those instances, it would still be considered as oligopoly competition. Mas let's presume na in that industry, damo ang businesses, but there are, let's say, um, 10 ang businesses, alright? But 10, like 8 of those are owned by few type of companies, like big companies. So even though 10 siya, since 8 dito in own ng few big companies, then it would still be considered as oligopoly. Okay? Number of firms in the industry, sorry, nature of product produced. So nature of product produced, products are often identical. So just like perfect competition, the products here are usually the same as well. Okay. Let's have as an example the fuel industry. Okay. Diba gamay man lang ang mga fuel industry dito sa mga fuel companies dito sa Philippines. We have Shell, Petron, ano pa? We have little types of companies of fuel like mga Total, um, ano pa? But then there are small types of companies. But then we have like large dominating companies such as like Petron or Shell. And um, yeah, we have Phoenix, Sea Oil. Okay? So gamay lang ang mga dagkuan din nga company. Right? And if you've noticed, halos pare-parehas lang man sila ng na baligya. So they have their gasoline, they have their diesel, their premium, halos pare-parehas lang sila. Halos pare-parehas lang sila ng nabaligya nga tipo sa fuel. They have fuel, they also have like bioethanol. The degree of power each firm has, so producers could have big impact on total industry demand because the products have the same purpose. Since homogeneous gani or pare-parehas lang ilang type of product, alright, then malakas ang impact ng businesses. Okay? At the same time, there are two interactions here under oligopoly. Since gamay lang sila, so they could definitely interact or they have a high chance of interacting with one another. Alright? Pwede sila mag-interact or mag-istoryahanay, kumbaga. Okay? Now, in their interaction, it could either be a positive interaction or a negative interaction. Ano ba yun? Kapag ka negative, ibig sabihin, they go against one another. Nakikipag labanan sila sa isa kag isa. Right? Just like, for example, way back early 2000, another example of oligopoly are network, TV networks dito sa Philippines. Diba, gamay mo lang ang ang giant networks dito sa Philippines. Actually, before, especially during early 2000s, we only have two. We have ABS and GMA. And they did not work together, but they actually go against another. That's why we have the very famous TV war ratings na ginatawag during the early 2000s. War ratings sila. Ibig sabihin, nakikipaglabanan sila sa isa ka isa. So ano yung palabas ng isa, ng ABS, almost the same man sa palabas ng GMA. So ano yung palabas ng GMA, nagbumanta, ginailog man o parehas man sa ABS. There was even a time kung sa diin, it's an Asian novela program, din bakal sang ABS or sang GMA, depende kung nauna sa ila. That's actually a version or a rendition of Boys Over Flowers or F4, Nature Garden. So, ang sa ano niya, dito, ang sa ABS, Boys Over Flowers, pero animated version. Ang same time slot niya, sa GMA is Boys Over Flowers, pero Japan edition. Japanese naman, live action edition. So imagine, very identical gid sila nga type of program. Parehas Boys Over Flowers or Meet Your Garden na ang kwento. Ang difference lang, ang isa cartoon or anime, ang isa naman live action bago. Alright? So that is an example of how big companies in the oligopoly competition would interact against one another. They would fight against one another. Okay? Now, is it a bad thing? As a consumer, no, it's not a bad thing. Why? It's because at the end of the day, if nagapagalingan sila nga duwa, alright, or nagapagalingan ang ang mga gamay na ang mga gamay, mga dagkuan ng businesses na, then ang daog ang daog dira would be the consumer naman. Kay sila ya ang magabenepisyo ng um, at the end of the day. Like for example, during the TV war, sinong daog ang TV viewers. Naman, it's because nami ang talalan-awon sa either ABS or sa GMA. Naman, it's because ang gina-produce nila ya would be high quality. Alright? Now, let's talk about now, what if kung nag-work together sila? Now, if they work together, that's the time na perde naman si consumer. So, as much as possible, as a consumer, ayaw mo na nag-work together ang mga big companies under oligopoly competition. You would prefer for them to actually fight against one another. Right? How come? So, if they work together, they can actually ang anong pananawa nila, they would work together so that they could have a high income. Diba? Just like what we discussed earlier, last lesson, businesses would operate to earn, to have revenue. So it's yeah, they would work together to ensure that all of them would have high revenue. So di nila kuha ng high revenue, it would be from the consumer. So paano sila mag-work together? It's possible na, sige, maitago sa danay ang product subong. Alright, hindi sa tanan kita nga company, hindi kita danay o gamayan ta lang ang pag-release ng supply. That way, magagamay ang supply sa market or ang product sa market. So, pag maggamay ng product sa market, magataas ang demand, pwede tadasan pataasan ang supply after. Tiba-tiba tayo ng mga company. Alright? So, okay siya for the company. Pero for the business, for the consumer, ay nagtaas ang presyo. Ay wala nagtaas ang sweldo. So, diin mo kuhaon ang kwarta na ihintaas sang inang presyo. Diba? So, kaluluoy naman dapat ng consumer. So, the degree of power each firm has, they definitely have a high influence over the industry. Degree to which the firm can influence price. So, firms consider their rivals' moves or changes in response to the business. So, prices, output, and advertising, because this will affect the demand for their product. So, and you would consider their competitors in terms of influence. Right? But it means that they do have a high influence. Okay, they are not just like price takers, like perfect competition, na nag-take lang sila, or they have a somewhat influence, just like monopolistic competition. They actually do have a direct influence over the price. They can influence the price. But then, they would not just influence the price just because they feel like doing it. They would either fight against the businesses, kumbaga, panubuan nila ang presyo para maperde ang kakompetensya nila, or pataasan nila ang presyo para mas reference sila, or pataasan ng presyo. It's because nagkasundo sila nga gusto nila ng mataas nga presyo. Alright? So, it means na as a businessman, you have influence over the price under oligopoly. It's just a matter of what are the considerations or what are the actions of your other few competitors as well. In terms of non-price competition or advertisements and other ways to make the brand popular are necessary to take care of the reputation. So, mataas man ang advertisement, but not intense. They would just be they would be just focusing on the ensuring that the reputation or the brand image of the company is still good in the market. Pero in terms of high intensity of competition for advertisement or for marketing, hindi ganun ka taas compared to the last two competition. In terms of profit level, firms view their demands inelastic for price cut and elastic for price rise. Ano ba silingan? Unlike kanina na ginambal ka sa perfect, sa monopolistic na either mataas siya or manubo, they have influence or wala. Sa oligopoly, it's two types. Kung magnubo ang presyo sa market, inelastic siya. Ano ba silingan? Ibig sabihin, ang pagbaba ng presyo, hindi ganun ka laki ang pagbaba or ang price down or ang rollback, kumbaga. Pero kapag nagtaas gani ang presyo, bawag panlalakaw ang taas ng presyo. Okay? So let's have gasoline as an example. Diba? Kapag sinabing price rollback, pila ang rollback? Mga 25 cents, 5 cents, 75 cents. Centavos lang. Ibig sabihin, ang pagbaba ng presyo, nagbaba gid man sa tuod, pero hindi ganun ka taas or laki ang paglugo. Alright? Now, once we say nagtaas naman siya, di ba? Pag sinabing nagkaroon ng price hike ang petrol. So pag nag-price hike siya, pila ang price hike? It's not just 50 cents, it's not 25 cents man. It would be piso, 2 piso, 150, 125 ang price hike. Ibig sabihin, pag price hike, grabe ang taas. If it's price down, grabe ang price down. Grabe ang pag price down naman, hindi ganun katindi ang price down. It's inelastic. Pero kung price rise, elastic siya. Grabe ang taas. Alright? Di ba daw ka-unfair? Kumbaga, kung nalang balon sa dabi, ang balon sa, ang okay, hambalon sa dabi, ang load, for example, kung ang 50 gig, magbakal ka 50 pesos. Pero nung nagnubo, nagkaroon ng price cut, naging 48 pesos ang 50 gig. Pero sa nag-price rise, nagkaroon ng inflation, nagtaas ang presyo, pila, naging 60 pesos ang 50 gig. So grabe ang taas, pero ang nubo, gamay lang. Alright? Extent of barriers to entry or exit. The entry for a firm is hard because of its huge capitalization, as well as the different processes that are the regulatory bodies impose. One can establish that process. Ano ba siningan? Ibig sabihin, magsulod ka sa amon sinay klase nga competition or market, mabudlay. Alright? Naman, it's because first, taas ang capitalization, taas ang requirement na investment na kinahanglan. Okay? And of course, obviously, not many people can afford so much high investment cost. Right? And the second the second factor is the documents, permits, or licenses na gina-require. Okay? Taas ang or damo ang gina-require nga mga permits or regulatory requirements. So because of that, hindi tanan or hindi ka kadali-dali sulod sa amo sining nga klase ng competition. Now let's um okay. Now let's go to the last type of competition, which is monopoly competition. So again, monopoly competition is different from monopolistic competition. Okay. Some books would call monopoly competition as pure monopoly competition, just to have a clear distinction between monopoly and monopolistic competition. Okay. Now, for monopoly competition, number of firms in the industry has only one seller. Isa lang gid ya ang seller. Okay. That's why it is called pure monopoly or monopoly type of competition. In some cases where uh, in one industry there are many businesses pero under siya sa one umbrella of a big company, of a one big company, then maski damo damo businesses pero since own siya ng one big company, then it would still considered as a monopoly competition. Alright. Now, for nature of the product produced, so producers are usually exclusive, distributed by one player, but are subject to government control to ensure that prices are monitored correctly. So, nabat yun. So, obviously, since isa lang ang seller, then isa lang man ang product. It's homogeneous, alright? Identical. Same lang na siya. Sa isa mo lang ang seller mo. Alright? At the same time, since isa lang ang seller, there is a risk nga magpinagusto siya presyo. Alright? Sang ina nga product. So to avoid that, na mag-abuse, alright, an excessive abuse of power as a seller, para ma-abuse yung overpricing, then what they're gonna do is to offer, is what the government would do, have a more visible supervision, a more visible supervision compared to other types of competition. Sa monopoly type of competition, dira halos makita mo ang interaction ni government. So much so that some people would actually get confused and think that that business is actually owned by the government. Why? It's because the government's interaction is so visible. The people would think na own gali sila company, government. But actually no. They are not owned by the government, but they are just being regulated by the government more intensely compared to other type of competition. And for what purpose? It's to, of course, to avoid abuse. Right? Siyempre, kapag in-abuse ni seller ang presyo, sinong kaluluoy? Ang buyer dapat, ang consumer. Okay? Degree of power each firm has. Firms have a huge opportunity to gain, but government regulations might intervene at times. Again, government would have regulations or would intervene. Okay? But firms have a huge opportunity to gain that. Kaya nga man, isa lang siyang seller mo. Alright? Isa lang siya ang gabaligya. So, obviously, may kakayahan talaga siya magpataas ng presyo. Degree to which the firm can influence price. Firms have a significant influence on prices as they are the only producers in the market. Okay, so what's the example of monopoly competition? So think of Dirisa Rojas, think of your utility. Kuryente, tubig, ba? Sa kuryente, we have Capelco. Alright? Tubig, we have Metro Rojas Water District. So, isa lang niya siya. Kung gusto mo magkukuryente, then you have to have an account sa Kapelco. Alright? And wala na siya sa competence. Okay? And it is being heavily regulated by the government. Hindi pwede magpagusto si government nga si Kapelco magpataas presyo. Alright? It is being regulated by the government to make sure na hindi man kita pwede. But then, meron po mga privileges ang Kapelco. Diba? Just like for example, ang mga laws na kuryente nila tungkol sa jumper. Alright? So, yung mga naga-jumper, ang mga nagamit na kuryente na yon, ang mga jumper, wala ginabayaran sa Kapelco. But those are expenses ni Kapelco. Kaya in order for them to have current, to have electricity, kinahanglan gyapon na siya mag-operate ni Kapelco. Galing ginakawat ang kuryente sa jumper. Alright? So, loss siya ni Kapelco. So, what Kapelco would do? Kay loss niya. Ano, matangit na lang siya? I-consider niya na lang as loss ato? No. What Kapelco would do, the Kapelco would try to get the loss amount, alright, to the paying customer. Kumbaga, ang sukton ni Kapelco is yung mga may kontador. And how are they gonna do that? Sa bill sang may sang Kapelco, may ara dito portion nga loss power or loss electricity. I'm not sure with the exact term, pero may ara na siya isa ka-label na for the loss ng Kapelco. So each customer receive a certain amount of that na singil ni Kapelco sa mga consumer na. So in a way, kumbaga, ang jumper ang nagabayad sa ila is ang mga konduktor or ang mga legal nga may kuryente. Alright? Is it fair in the eyes of the consumer? Well, it may not be fair, di ba? Naman ako yung nagbayad sa imo yagin kawat na kuryente. But then, Meralco would have to get it from somewhere. Kaya kung patuloy na nakawan sila, basi mag-stop na lang sila sa operation. Kay maperde sila, ma-loss sila. Hay, kung maperde sila, ma-loss sila, wala kuryente. O, di mas malaking problema para sa atin. Okay? So, because of that, kaysa sa maperde, kag mawalan kita kuryente, what are they gonna do? The government, mapasugot na lang. Pero, hindi lang sobra-sobra nga isupot mo sa conduct, sa legal mo nga consumer. So, kumbaga, daw gina-divide na lang na siya in a way na parang halos hindi maramdaman ng consumer ang presyo or ang ginpasong. Alright? So, those are one of the privileges of being a monopolist of competition. Okay, so back. So now, non-price competition or advertisement. So in essence, monopolies do not need to advertise themselves any longer. So just like with oligopoly. But then, of course, even though they do not need to, they would still do advertisement just to make sure that they keep a good image or reputation to the consumer. Profit levels, the profit firm is very high because they are the ones that could dictate the price. So, they could have even those type of pricing na ginapatong sa consumer just because kesa maperde sila, ipatong sa consumer kesa mag-close ako. Kaya kung hindi na ako makaprovide electricity o paano na kayo So, since isa lang siya nga seller, so kung mawala siya, then impact with yan, ramdam with yung impact. So, because of that, may not authority, but they have a big opportunity to add a profit, high profit margin to their pricing. Last is extent of barriers to entry or exit. So the entry for a firm is hard because of its huge capitalization, as well as different processes that are the regulatory bodies imposed. One can establish that. So just like with oligopoly, mabudlay man ang pagsulod sa amo kining klase nga industry. So actually, if you would think about it, there is only one seller for a season. Isa lang ang seller na nagstay dira. It's because isa lang ang seller na nakapag-comply sa mga sa mga permits at the same time, isa lang man ang seller na naka-afford ng um, capital requirement. Okay? It's not because isa lang gusto ni government na seller sila, but it's only because isa lang yang may kakayahan. Okay? Um, just think of, for example, sa kuryente, di ba? In order for you to have a planta ng electricity, how much ang makinahanglan mo gastuson para dira? How much ang required mo nga gastuson? Di ba? On top of that, ano na mga requirement ang kinahanglan mo? Because you definitely have to have requirements there, especially for safety nga daan. Kay base nag-start ka dira ng business mo ng ng electricity, daton gulpe, wala kayo nagkuha ng permit, ay naglupok ang isa ka na dira o tapos naglapsa o tinagkaroon pa ng sunog o disconnect. So, uh, yun. Uh, the requirements, the permits are difficult. At the same time, the cost is so high. That's why it's so high na isa lang company ang kaya or afford na makapag-start or operate sa ano mo sinakasing industry. Alright? So that is the end of our topic for the oligopoly or for the competition and market structure. So if you have questions, just go ahead and send me a chat. Okay? Adam PC. And this will be the last part of your final. So good luck. I'm gonna send you your final most probably by the end of the week. All right, by Saturday. Okay. So good luck and take care. Bye.